Importante 3rd y 6. Miren la carga de San Francisco. Vienen con todo el mundo. Kirk Cousins suelta largo. ¡Cuidado! ¡Es intercepción! ¡No! ¡Es pase completo! Y allá va Jordan Addison metiéndose al touchdown. Suenan los cañones y todavía le quedaban 7 segundos más a los vikingos. Ellos no lo pueden creer.
Our good friend Rebecca Landa with the call for ESPN Deportes. Oh, it was quite a night. If you are a Vikings fan, if you are a 49ers fan, it's 1, 2, 4, get. Either way, this is the El Huddle podcast where we celebrate Latino culture, the NFL, and beyond. I'm Will Selva. I am joined by my hermana, my prima hermana, MJ Acosta Ruiz.
By the way, that whole sequence only makes sense to Latinos, right? Like,
they
fully understand what we mean by like prima hermana, primo hermano.
Oh, absolutely.
It's good to be back in the flesh.
Yes, absolutely. As always, prima hermana. As we had mentioned in the last podcast, there were 6 teams that had a siestecita in week 7. Week 8, we're going to see everybody trabajando. Everybody's going to be working, so nobody's going to have a bye week. But we just heard the Vikings and the 49ers. For the Vikings, they seemed like the team that was more desperate. The 49ers could not get off the field on 3rd down. The protection for Kirk Cousins was excellent. The pass rush for the 49ers couldn't get any sort of pressure on Kirk Cousins. It was amazing. Kirk Cousins was just slicing and dicing him up.
And I think a lot of people have we underestimated the Vikings yet again?
Maybe. Yeah.
So far, right now, it looks that way, doesn't it?
We'll see. At least this performance that they showed us, they had their game plan. The defense from Brian Flores was excellent.
I heard Brian Flores' name so many times last night. I was like, all right, D-Flow.
D-Flow, feeling the flow.
Let's go.
During that game. And now the question is with the 49ers, after now 2 consecutive losses, they have to get ready for the Bengals, who are just coming off of their bye, one of those teams that's well rested. We saw Joe Burrow and the way that he played before the bye week look much better.
Much better.
Look much more like the Joe Burrow that we've been accustomed to.
The Burrow of yore.
The definitely of yore, right? And now there's going to have to be some adjustments from the 49ers because Joe Burrow is probably looking at the middle of the field the way that Kirk Cousins did last night on Monday night and licking his chops because the 49ers had no answer either, because they're roaming all around. And then we saw Steve Wilkes making that call with the all-out blitz. It was a gamble. And then Jordan Addison comes up with that pick where he just picked it from, Charvarius Ward. So this is the 49ers have some issues here that they have to deal with.
Well, I think it's a situation where like the whole weekend slate of games did not go as any of us imagined.
That's correct.
Right? I remember Sunday, I was in Miami over the weekend, and Sunday's first slate of games, I was headed over to my parents' house, and I thought my dad was calling me because I was, of course, running late. Yeah. Instead, he was calling me.
You're never.
Never, right.
Yeah.
No, ridiculous.
You're never late.
Always on Latino time.
My family was always on Latino time.
Always
we were
late,
always
but
late.
worth the wait, I promise. So, I'm like, Dad, I'm on my way. He's like, no. Are you watching? I was listening sort of peripherally because we were trying to get everything together. And so I sat down for a second. I was like, okay, let me just watch RedZone for a little bit. And I was like, what is going on? Yeah. But that's how it goes. That's why there are things like Any Given Sunday. That's why there's fantasy and suddenly a guy that you haven't heard of goes off and gives you 30 points on your team. Crazy game. And yes, that does mean that I was in Miami for Sunday Night Football.
And you saw that. That was rough. Thought it would be a better showing. I have to say, the Eagles really put pressure on Tua.
We knew it was not going to be an easy game.
And with the offensive line for Miami banged up as well, that didn't help out.
No, didn't help at all. Then Jalen Waddle got banged up too in the middle of the game. But now we get to see the other side of it since they have announced that Hard Knocks in season will be with
fantastic. I mean, think about all those personalities, right?
Oh
Tyreek, Jalen Ramsey, Christian Wilkins. There's a lot of guys that I know we're going to bring some entertaining moments to this thing.
No question. And we get to see a little bit more of a peek behind the veil. I think the Dolphins have done a great job because Mike McDaniel is so colorful, right?
Yeah.
And he's like
An
pretty
eccentric
open,
guy.
an eccentric guy. We've
Yeah.
seen so many features about him and his story, but now we get to see a little bit more of the dynamics of how this team has continued to build from last year and some of the pitfalls, like what we saw on Sunday night in Philly. Also, playing a game in primetime in Philadelphia is no easy task, period, but certainly against a team that, regardless of how they've played, even with their wins, have not been as convincing as I think we were expecting or that we wanted them to be. Well, all right. I guess they set that straight. Unfortunately for me and Finns fans, it was against
una preocupación, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that the Dolphins and the 49ers played.
Mm-hmm.
These are two teams that we thought were in the top tier of teams.
Well, even the Bills falling to the Patriots.
Exactly.
Right.
No, exactly. And I think for the Dolphins, what's concerning is they went on the road, lost to the Bills, and then here they are going on the road, facing a good team and the Eagles. This is a worry, right? If you're a Finns fan, because you have to win on the road when it's the postseason. Now, granted, there's still a lot of football to be played, but it's going to get a little colder.
Yeah.
And those January games.
Well, it's going to be cold in Germany when they fly over and face the reigning Super Bowl champions in Frankfurt.
That's going to be a fun
And it's a home
matchup.
game for the Chiefs over there.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Not really home game for everybody, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's still,
I get what you're saying.
It's going to be interesting. I'm really hoping to see from this in season really what the structure is of the coaching staff, how we see Mike sort of out on the field and how he gets along with the players. But I do know that there is a serious side to him, that there is a this is business side to him. So I know a lot of people want to see the fun stuff, but I'm really looking forward to, all right, this is coach. This is our head coach, and to see how he has started to really structure this team around him and his philosophy.
I want to see just practice footage to see how Jalen Phillips and, Tyreek Hill, because we saw Jalen Phillips, like he was getting animated, trying to goad those Eagles fans when he was making plays. That is always a fascinating dynamic to see, like the offense going up against the defense. There's a lot of yapping, a lot of talking trash. I think that's going to be fun. I know McDaniel had said that after their game in Germany, that's when they're expected to film until the end of the season. And the Dolphins have the Patriots, who upset the Bills. And are we buying into the Patriots figuring this thing out after 1 week? Or is it that the Bills they just couldn't get it done and they're still trying to figure things out on offense, and we just they're another team that you should be concerned about. Yes, they're 4-3, but Josh Allen was running for his life.
I will say, I thought maybe the Bills would get the in-season hard.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
That would have been interesting. Is there another team you would have thought maybe, they're going to get the bid? It makes sense in Miami, though, with everything that's...
Yeah, I think Miami is just more glamour. I think they're the track team. Listen.
So much personality.
But when you look at the Dolphins, they're so fun to watch with the speed, etc. But do you think their style can be sustainable in the playoffs when you go up against a team that's more ground and pound and power?
I think it has to get a lot more physical. I mean, I think we saw them start to really rely on Raheem Mostert, especially in the second half. But then it had started to already get away from them. I think what's interesting when they do start filming, like you mentioned, after Germany, speaking of Jalen's, that is the slate when Jalen is really supposed to start getting integrated. I think he's coming back now, opening that window to get off of that IR from that injury. But will be real interesting to see him get back in there, be fresh, fully recovered. I think there's a lot of layers there, but certainly fixable things. I think people are starting to figure, you can't manifest a way of getting people faster against like the Tyreek Hills and the Jalen Waddles.
That's
and
right.
The Raheem Mosterts,
That's right.
Right. But you can start to strategize on how to take those players away, which we've seen teams do.
And we're going to see Devon Achane coming back week 11 as well.
So second half of the season.
Yeah. So lots can change. Yeah, very spicy, which, by the way, did you get a chance to see Saturday Night Live with Bad Bunny?
Well, I haven't sat down and watched it, but I've seen all the clips. They post the skits on social media.
So great.
I mean, it felt like Bad Bunny was talking to us, because everything that he does is por la cultura. 100%.
Absolutely.
The opening monologue when he said, I'm so happy to be here on Sábado Gigante. Oops.
Oh, yeah. It spoke to me.
SNL.
It totally spoke to me.
I cackled a little bit too hard, I think, at that joke. But it was because he knew. I'm like, this is for mi gente. 100%. I loved it. And having Pedro Pascal on there.
That was great.
And Marcelo, who is part of the cast of SNL, a Dominican
Would love
Cuban
to talk to him.
Miami kid. Marcelo, if you're listening,
come on the podcast, please.
Ven pa' acá.
Ahorita.
Con tu gente, please.
Con tu familia
Our
ahorita.
official petition.
It just was funny seeing Pedro Pascal, and then he's just saying, yeah, he's my translator. And then, it's like, what was it? See? It's like, okay, he just said yes, and then there's the skit where, he has to bring home his girlfriend to his tia's house.
Yes.
And la mamá is there, right? And Bad Bunny and Pedro Pascal are there. And
they're the tias and the mom. Yeah.
Because this thing is, my brother even said this at our wedding when he gave his best man toast. He said, like, you would not bring home a girlfriend to the house unless she's the one.
Right? No.
Like,
absolutely.
That's 100% the truth.
Yes.
And I think people think like that's an exaggeration, but that's how it was. But it just was funny to see Bad Bunny, Pedro Pascal, and, they can't relate to her, right?
At all.
It's like, ella está en Trader Joe's, you know what I mean? And so I can't relate. Yeah. But then as soon as she says, like, I keep telling you, you need to eat. Because you don't eat enough. And they're like, oh, sí, claro, ahorita, mi amor.
It all comes back to food.
Yes, it does.
Comes back to food. By the way, I went to my parents' house. We went to my sister's house, actually. And silly me, I was like, oh, I'll just order food for all of us. And my mom was like, oh, it's okay. I brought a couple of things. She said, I brought a couple of snacks. She brought a full lasagna, potato salad, green salad. I was like, Mom,
give it to me.
This is, we weren't mad about it at all. Yeah. But she was always like, who's going to order what? Are you kidding me? When your mother is right here. One thing about my mom, she's going to feed us one way or another.
And she
no regrets.
She sounds like an awesome cook.
Best.
So, by the way, you're an awesome interviewer because you interviewed one of the Chargers players.
Yes, cornerback Mikey Davis, a proud Mexicano, Afro-Latino. He and his mom, Ana, who is an angel on this planet. Sweet, sweet lady. We got to hang out, had some pozole, which is Mikey's favorite meal, and just really talked about their journey, her coming here from Mexico City as a single mom with Mikey and not really understanding what was available to her to have this gifted athletic son and really put him in the right positions. But their story is beautiful. And we were really able to dive deep into so many things that we talk about here on the podcast. Like you see people on Sunday, right? And you see the jersey and but you don't know the story that's behind it. And for the two of them, it was just Ana and Mikey. Right. In Glendale, like trying to figure it out, trying to make it. And it's really great to see it full circle and to see her sacrifices having paid off for her son. And she knew that whether he's a football player or not, like I know that I did the best for him. And just reminded me so much of my parents and, the stories we've had about your parents as well. Yeah. It's really cool. If you guys want to check it out, here is the feature. There's a story behind every tattoo that's ever been put on skin.
Mexico is me and I am Mexico. The culture is who my mom and I are. Being Mexican is who I am.
Chargers cornerback Michael Davis sees himself reflected in the people that Mexican revolutionary Emiliano Zapata fought for.
He basically fought for the poor people. He basically fought for the people who had no voice. And growing up, I had no voice, really. It was different times. I had a different background, different upbringing with my classmates. Yeah. They run around with their fancy cars. We had to walk everywhere, take the bus everywhere. Live in a one-bedroom apartment downtown Glendale. Single mom, Ana Martinez. It was just me and her all the time. She is my best friend.
I grew up in Mexico City. What I remember, it was like just running all over the place. Everybody knows each other.
And you know whose kid is with who, and all the moms are watching. How different was it once you moved to California?
It was challenging for me because I don't have no one here. I have my son, and I have to do the best for him. I said to myself, I'm just gonna teach him what my parents, grandparents taught me.
I just feel like being Mexican, also being black, just makes me unique. So people do see me like, you're dark. And then they look at my mom and they're like, well, she's light. Like, how are you guys related?
Growing up, Davis's darker skin raised questions about his Mexican identity. But in middle school, he found a new talent, and in the process, discovered a new piece of his identity.
I'm just focused on my goal. Hey, hey, hey.
Junior high. That's when he started playing flag football. Coach Holmo, he talked to me and he says, you know what, I think Mike, he has something that he can develop and he can be good at it, and that's football. I said to him, but we don't have the means.
Right.
I don't have the money. And he says, and I'm just letting you know that there's a way.
Guided by his mother and coach Steve Holmo, Davis made the transition from starring in track and football at Glendale High School to BYU. After signing with the Cougars as a receiver, he switched to cornerback. A decision that landed him on the Los Angeles Chargers as an undrafted free agent.
What a night in Mexico City. The Chiefs and the LA Chargers, Estadio Azteca.
All I knew is that I just wanted my family to be in Estadio Azteca.
It makes me emotional because I still remember it.
Yeah.
Because it was my whole family there, you know?
Yeah.
That's, I think, the best part of it.
What are some of the things that you want to make sure Michael never forgets?
The food.
I don't think that'll be a
The
problem.
food.
This one is called pozole verde.
You're gonna love it.
Okay. Pozole is your favorite dish.
Main dish.
Why?
I think it's just because my grandma used to make all the time when I was younger. Especially we used to go back to Mexico usually every year.
It's really good.
It's very good. Very surprised. Olvera Street. You remember going
I
there?
personally don't remember that,
Yeah.
so I'm excited if we go see that.
This is the big matraca. I'm gonna bring this on Sunday for the charges. No charges.
That's a good one, actually. You should
It's
bring that.
allowed though. You can try it.
Definitely bring it for the Cowboys game. Yeah, definitely. My mom, she always used to tell me that échale ganas, just to always give my all. And I try to do that in everything I do in life. I try to portray Mexico as much as I can. Rooting in Mexico makes me feel grounded, keeps me grounded to my mom, keeps me grounded to my family. The culture is who I am.
Really resonates with me, and especially like the stroll down Alvarado too, and just hanging out, and you can just see how proud Mikey is of being a Mexicano, Latino, like what that means to him. He's also a local kid as well.
Totally.
Started Glendale High School, and so awesome job. You
Thank
totally
you.
like were getting the vibe.
They made it so
you know?
easy. It felt like I was en familia
Oh,
for sure. And
without
for
a doubt.
him, like we talked a lot about intersectionality, right? Because he's like, so many people only see that I am a Black man, which yes, it's true, but I'm also a Mexican man. And so like we talked about like those two things existing at the same time, right? They're not mutually exclusive of one another. And it's such a big part of his identity and like what he does. And it was really cool. And we had a ton of pozole, which was like kind of spicy, but your girl handled it.
Yeah, as
did
only
it.
you
It was
can.
delicious. It paid off though, because on the back end we had tres leches and I crushed that
tres
tres leches.
leches.
Woo! We had a whole family dinner. It was amazing. Miss Anna, thank you so much. And Mikey, of course, for letting us in. It was really, really great to catch up with them. And we don't care if it's not Hispanic Heritage Month, because obviously we are Latinos the whole year
the whole
round,
year.
and we celebrate La Cultura all year round. And we got to get to it, because in the craziness of Week 7 slate, there was a lot of things that went different ways, but one thing stays constant, and it's your eye to pick the Perro Machos.
Yes. Perro Machos, lots of great candidates out there. Number one for me was Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Okay,
Talk about it.
vintage Lamar of what we saw. It looks like that Todd Monken offense.
Yep.
He's now
He's in it.
feeling more comfortable. We saw him like how Kirk Cousins sliced and diced the 49ers secondary and defense. He did the same with the Lions, who were getting a ton of love, a ton of hype the week before that game. And the Ravens were saying, no. Look what we've got. We've got some playmakers, and those playmakers also stepped up.
Yeah.
Lamar had time. He was able to run and get loose. And when the offense is clicking like this for the Ravens, they are hard to stop.
I mean, I saw them live in person in London, and that carried over seamlessly. And that was a dominant win.
Yes.
It wasn't just like, oh, we got a little victory.
Statement win.
Woo!
Without a doubt. And I don't think that means that the Lions are going to be circling the drain.
No, not at all.
I think this was just one bad game.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson, again, played like the Lamar Jackson who was an MVP from a few years ago. So he's one of my perro machos. Another one is a rookie, Tyson Bagent.
I love this story so much.
So great, right?
So
that
good.
his dad is a world champion arm wrestler. Which got Peter Schrager and Kyle Brandt to go and challenge each other to arm wrestling and created this whole hilariously awkward, tension-filled moment on the show. But either way, back to Bagent, his background is so fun because came from West Virginia, Shepherd College.
Yeah.
Here he is thrust into the limelight. He's going to have to start again. So it's not like he's just one and done.
Right.
He has another start coming up. And the way that he plays, really poised, really calm, and was he throwing the ball deep? No, but he was making
thinking and ducking his way through.
Completions that he had to make.
For sure.
And even going on that scramble.
Yeah.
And he tries to get the home crowd into it. I think it really brought a spark to the team.
Yeah, I mean, he was 21 of 29. That's not nothing.
No, not nothing at all. And honestly, it's like to be, your first career start in the NFL.
I know. His dad must have been losing his mind. Because I remember vividly when we're doing the combine and all draft coverage, the story was so interesting because he did say there's a lot of parallels in what I did as like an arm wrestling champ, which yes, let's be serious. Like at first you listen to it and you're like, sir, not quite the same.
He's a character, though.
He's a character, very colorful. But I get what he's saying in terms of mentality, of the competition, of having that dog in him, as we hear the dog, the guys say all the time. So I love that he had his moment. I heard a lot of the announcers saying like he's a secret Bagent man. They're going to change his name to 007. He was sort of undercover. Nobody was really paying attention. But this is why the phrase next man up is so important. Like when your number is called, that's
ready.
Your moment.
Yeah.
You don't know how long you're going to have it, but good for him, man.
Yeah, he got the game ball, and now the Bears are going to be playing the Chargers. Again, and the Chargers are going to need that win as well because, again, it seems like the heat is cranking up a little bit on that seat that Brandon Staley is on. Another perro macho has to be A.J. Brown. Over the last 5 games, over 125 yards receiving, ties the NFL record. He is in the same breath as Megatron. They call him Mega John in Philadelphia in some spots. And he brings another dynamic to this offense that makes them more dangerous. We saw Dallas Goedert get really involved to celebrate National Tight Ends Day.
Yeah.
And trying to guard him, he's such like a physical wide receiver out there. Not an easy guy to take down or to cover.
I just remember even just his transition from when he entered the league. Like he was always fast and shifty, but he's gained so much more muscle. Like he's such a bigger bodied receiver now as well. And the proof is in the pudding. Like when he goes out there, he's really tough to stop and really tough to bring down.
Now,
that great choices.
So those are the choices, but I have an honorable mention one, and it goes to a coach, Mike Tomlin.
Oh boy.
A soundbite machine.
Yes.
Dámelo right now. Let's hear Mike Tomlin after the big win against the Rams.
But I just love the fight in this group. They don't blink, man. They cut their eyelids off, man. They go at it. And it is, like I told them, it's not a compliment. It's required. I'm just acknowledging it. We better be prepared to fight every time we step into a stadium, man, because that's what the National Football League is about.
Yes, indeed. What do you think?
I mean, the visual is just uncanny. Right in time for Halloween. It's giving Saw.
Yeah.
It's giving horror flick. But I understand what he says. And you can just see it in his face, right? In his eyes. He wasn't blinking.
No,
quite frankly, through that
he was not.
Conference.
He was not. And that Steelers offense, fun to watch. Pickett to Pickens, Deontay Johnson back, made a big difference. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris. And they're going to face a low-key, pretty good team matchup in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Talk about those two teams, potentially playoff bound. So those are my perro machos. But we had to play the Tomlin sound.
I know. It's too good.
Okay, so if you have to have that perro macho in you, but the perro macho means nothing if you don't have plátano power.
Yes, it was very clear that they had several helpings of plátanos yesterday in Minnesota. And we got to go with the QB, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
Kirky.
Yeah, Kirko Chains.
Kirko Chains.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, did you see after Justin Jefferson in the post-game interview ran over to him?
You know what's
going to
happen.
chain. I knew it. I love it so much. But 378 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nobody got to him. Clean jersey.
No,
throughout.
that O-line did their job.
They are my honorable mention for Plátano Power, because without them holding it down like that, Kirk would not have been able to play the way that he did. So good job, Kirk. Great stuff at primetime at home against the team that I consider probably still the best teams in the league against the 49ers. Not an easy game to win, and definitely came down to the wire for sure. They were just one score out from actually getting it back in that thing. And the other one, same game, Jordan Addison,
the rookie out of SoCal.
Let's go, Rook. 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns already on the season. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What a way to start your NFL career, and stepping up when Justin Jefferson is down. Those are not easy shoes to fill. I'm not saying that it's apples to apples, but like that's a big task to jump in there and do.
And a big task because he was wrestling the ball away, it felt like, a few different occasions, with Charvarius Ward.
Who's not an easy guy to go up against.
No, and he was able to hold his own well, was running great routes, getting open, confident, and I think definitely the Plátano Power, they needed that win badly. Yeah. And the defense, as we mentioned, with B-Flow too. So
honorable
maybe
mention
now,
B-Flow?
maybe B-Flow. So now they have the Packers, and you look at the rest of their schedule.
Yeah.
For the Vikings, it could potentially set up nicely.
Yeah.
That's if they play the way that they did against the 49ers.
Yeah, they've got the Packers, the Falcons, the Saints, Broncos, Bears.
Right? I mean,
the rest of their schedule is favorable. Very favorable, especially the way some of these teams have been playing. I would still be concerned about the Lions, who they faced later in the year, just because they had that loss now. That's still a team that I'd be very worried about if you have them on your schedule. But Vikings fans, once again, I think we could be talking about this being a postseason team, and you should not be surprised if that's how it ends up. All right, rolling into week 8.
Yeah, let's do this.
What's your punto?
My punto is I, first off, love to see all the teams playing because I don't have to worry about my fantasy football team.
Oh, God.
Because if you have to worry about your fantasy football team, that means a waiver wire, bin, waiver wire, bin shopping, etc. So my punto is that we're going to see all these teams, and we're going to start to see more and more the personalities of these teams taking shape as we have. And for maybe the teams like the Dolphins, like the 49ers, these are just bumps in the road.
100%.
And then the other aspect of it, so I guess this is a twofold punto, is we've got the October 31st trade deadline.
Yes.
We already saw Kevin Byard being traded from the Titans to the Eagles. The Eagles are much better. Yep. And with the Raiders and how things are going with them, does somebody go out and trade for Devontae Adams?
Woo!
Is he out there for the taking? And if he goes to a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, he might be the difference maker for them.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so those are kind of my puntos because, again, these identities have to be really defined because now we're going to see who's in it to win it and who could potentially be trading on October 31st.
It's in essence the halfway point of the season, and we have an extra week now.
Yeah,
but more or less the halfway point at this level in week 8. And I do agree with you. My punto is along in that same vein. I think the teams that we were expecting to be really tough have been, but the teams who needed to start to figure it out are doing that.
Yeah.
And that is great for all of us because it means really competitive, really tight, really physical games, which is exactly what you want to see here in the middle of the season as we start to get into the crispier weather, as I call it. You're making the hot chocolate with any variations before you head out to a game day. These are the matchups that you really want to get to. And it makes it more unpredictable. I want to see a team that I don't want it to be, I want my dad to be upset.
Yeah,
Not
of
because I don't
course.
love him, but because it makes our conversations that much more interesting.
Spicy, yeah.
Yeah,
claro.
a little bit more
Más
spicy.
picante,
Yeah,
¿no?
he gets upset because he doesn't pick them correctly. And then gets upset at me for not giving him more guidance. But I told we're
Pero,
friends off
papi.
now with the whole Bill situation having come to light. So I don't help him as much in his campaign.
No, yeah, no, but that's a 4-3, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So stay on your toes, stay frosty, and stay coming back and hanging out with us every week on a Huddle, Will.
Yeah.
We love you guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the spot. Somos familia. Hang out, download, subscribe, like, all of that. And do yourself a favor. Again, if you are like MJ and I, and if you're listening to this, it sounds like you would be, you have to watch the Bad Bunny.
Please
I'm
go
telling
back
you.
and watch SNL. Oh my God, it's so good. And then let us know what you think.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, I hope that we get to a point, by the way. I love Bad Bunny. I'm just saying
Yes.
I love his music. My son uses that as his walk-up music in baseball. He would be great to do the Super Bowl. I don't know if he still has the universal appeal, but hopefully he's going to get there
I've
where they
been
pick him.
screaming this for years now. Maybe him and Usher are friends and we don't know, and he'll pop up.
That would
He
be
has
awesome.
been part of the Super Bowl before. Remember in Miami with Shakira
yes,
and J-Lo?
yes.
He popped in.
But
So
I'm
he has
saying when
done it,
he's the
but
one
him
that's calling
front
the
and center.
shots.
Yes, I
That's what I
agree.
want to see.
Now our Ari Punto has gone off the road. We're just
Okay.
manifesting things.
Yes,
guys.
yes, we are.
That's all it is. But we'll be right back here next week before
Yep.
I head off to Germany on a Halloweeny episode.
Yeah.
Are we dressing up? We got to figure it out. I'm not.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. I'll just wear orange or something. Lazy. All right, guys.
All right.
Gracias. See you next
Adios,
time.
prima hermana.